Hello everyone, my name is Strafi and I was thrilled to have all of you with me, and today we're going to talk about rare powers in Legends of Runeterra. Powers can be acquired multiple ways. If you level up champions, you will be able to get rare powers more frequently when you are offered a power at a node. You can also pick up a power from a shop. It's important to note that the shop's rarity will determine the minimum power offered. So you can see the rarity of a node by looking at the little icon underneath it. If it's green, it's going to be a common area. If it's blue, it's going to be a little rare area. If it's a little purple diamond, it's going to be an epic area. And if it's gold, it will be a legendary area. So if you see a shop with a blue icon, that means that the minimum powers you can get in that shop are going to be rare. No matter how many times you reroll, you will not be offered a common power. That's beneficial to you in some cases, but it also can be a detriment. So for example, whenever you buy a power at a shop, if it's common, it will cost you 200 gold. If it's rare, it will cost you 300 gold. If it's epic, it will cost you 400 gold. And if it's legendary, it will cost you 500 gold, no matter what it is. That's how it works. So if you see a rare shop and you have less than 300 gold, you may want to go to the other node that you're able to go to try and get some sort of benefit for free instead of going to a shop that's not going to offer you something you can afford. Alright, let's take a look at the rare powers. First up, we have Armed to the Teeth. Allies with equipment or attachments have +2/+2. This is already given to both Vayne and Aatrox, if I recall correctly, as their 4-star power. This is very good for equipment decks. Jax is going to love this. Yeah, I think that's it. Jax is and Kane. Jax and Kane, I believe, are the only other two decks that use a lot of equipments that don't have this for free. But definitely take it on them. Very, very good to use +2/+2 all the time. Chilling Prophecy. At the start of the game, summon a Frozen Thrall and set its countdown to 5. Frozen Thrall is a landmark that says countdown 9, summon a Frostguard Thrall. Frostguard Thrall is a 8 mana 8/8 with Overwhelm. That's very, very powerful. This is obviously going to be really, really good in Talia, because Talia likes you having landmarks. Talia has ways to count down your landmarks, ways to benefit from removing landmarks. You also would appreciate this in any deck that likes to overwhelm or that likes to kind of go slow. Gwen really benefits from this because Gwen has all of her hallowed units that get extra attack when they attack, and having a big powerful overwhelm unit that can come down in the middle of the game to kind of benefit from all the hallowed around the time that you're going to play Gwen, because Gwen is a 4-star unit, so having a countdown of 5, they'll basically hit the board at about the same time. Then you attack with the overwhelm unit and the Gwen attacks and she gets the hallowed as well. Could be very beneficial to you. Good way to close the game out. Darius is going to want to have units come down later that pair well with whatever you drew, because Darius tends to he plays his hand out. He's gonna have some cards in his hand, but maybe he runs out of cards later in the game. So having the ability to have an 8/8 that you can pair with a 4/4 that you summon that gets +4/+0 from your hero power, and then you now have 16 attacks, so you can trigger your rally, going to be very good for you. Converging Timelines. The first time you play a follower each round, pick one of 3 followers with the same cost to transform it into. I have never taken this power. This sounds terrible to me. I know that Converging Timelines has been a kind of decent ability, but it's just way too much RNG. Your deck already has innate synergy, and you don't want to go against that. Deep Cuts. When an ally strikes the enemy nexus, curse it with Ichor. Ichor is a 3-mana curse that deals 1 damage to the enemy nexus at the start of the round. And then every time that you strike the nexus again, that damage will increase by 1, and the cost of the curse will increase by 3. So, for example, if you attack with 3 units, and all 3 of those units are unblocked, your opponent will get a curse in their hand that locks one of their cards in their hand down, and that will be a 9-mana burst spell. As long as the opponent doesn't play it at the start of every round, their nexus will take 3 damage. So, Deep Cuts obviously has a lot of synergy with Morgana, because she makes the cost of curses go up. It's going to be really hard for them to get that curse out of their hand. And then she also enjoys playing a slong game where you lock down your opponent's hand. She has other ways to curse, so you could potentially, with the Deep Cuts, take up 3 or 4 slots in your opponent's hand, reduce their hand size down to 7 or 6, which is devastating for some decks. In addition to Morgana, any deck that uses a lot of Overwhelm is going to benefit from this. Even if your Overwhelm isn't that powerful, even if you're not striking for a lot, as long as you're hitting the enemy nexus, then this is really good. I, in particular, actually really like deep cuts on Leona, because Leona is a character that I find struggles to win the game a lot. And so what I tend to do with Leona is I will put Troll King's Crown on her, which means that while Leona's on the board, her whole board has Overwhelm. And it's not really going to win you the game, but it's like the only way that you can start to push any damage through at all. So I really like Leona just having deep cuts to synergize with the Troll King's Crown, so that she can kind of like push a little bit of damage through, because her board is going to be wide but very small. So it's either you stun like 8 units with Leona's ability and Ravoon, or you get Overwhelmed and deep cuts. Those are your only ways to win with Leona. Domination at the start of the round, rally. This is good on everybody. This is insane. You just get to attack every single turn. I would take this on literally every champion. Explosive Finale. When an enemy dies outside of combat, deal 4 damage to the enemy nexus. Vigar. This is your win condition. I promise you. If you have this on Vigar, you will kill people so fast. Because Vigar gets free darkness every turn. Darkness spell that deals 2 damage to the enemy nexus. And then, or not 2 damage to the enemy nexus, 2 damage to a unit. It increases every turn that you have Vigar out, every turn that you strike with your 2 mana 4/3. So Explosive Finale, very, very good on Vigar. You could get this on Vex, but Vex already gets it for free as her 4-star ability. It's really good on Yasuo, because every time Yasuo strikes a unit at the start of the round to clear them after they've been stunned by his other power, that's another 4 damage. Every time that you stun a unit with Yasuo and then he strikes it and kills it, it's going to give me another 4 damage. Like, I've done like 12 or 16 damage in a turn with Yasuo with Explosive Finale. Jace also likes to kill units with burst damage, so very, very good. Fast Deal. Start of the round, draw 1, give it fleeting. When you discard a card, shuffle a copy of it into the deck. This has a lot of synergy with Nyla. Nyla plays Slipstream. She really likes to draw a lot of fleeting cards. So in particular, the ability to shuffle your cards back into your deck whenever you discard them is very beneficial to Nyla. It basically means that she doesn't deck out, which is a real threat with Nyla in particular, is you decking out, especially very early. So Fast Deal, making it so that you don't deck out, is very good for you. And then, of course, the ability to draw an extra card every turn is really good for Nyla, because she wants to draw 15 cards, which is really hard when your deck starts with only 18 cards and you start with 4 cards in your hand. It's not easy to level Nyla up, but Fast Deal makes it a lot easier. Other decks, being able to draw an extra card every turn is pretty good, especially if you're a deck that uses a lot of cards in your opening hand. A lot of decks will find that Fast Deal gives them a little bit of extra extension to make sure that they actually can close the game out. But it's not as good as a lot of other rare powers, so it's kind of a situational ability. Feral Senses. At the start of the round, create a fleeting Feral Prescience in hand. Feral Prescience is a 0-mana spell that burst predicts. This is extremely good for Pike, especially if you don't have Pike's 4-star ability. Being able to basically choose the card that's on top of your deck is very good for Lurk. So this is really good for Lurk. If we ever get Zillion, this will be Zillion's best power, because Zillion wants to predict all of his landmarks and get them through. You can play this on Echo. It's not amazing on Echo. Echo has a lot of ways to predict already, but Echo is a character that wants to predict multiple times, because he levels up by predicting 4 times. So this will just make Echo level up a lot faster. Is that good? It is, but I don't know that it's worth the slot for Echo. Echo is so powerful already, and maybe it's because I have Echo at 4 stars that I think he's really, really good. But I think Echo is really, really good. So I would rather use my rerolls and go for something really good on Echo, my cards cost 1 less, or gearing up or something like that. Fixer Upper. At the start of the round, grant your weakest ally +3/+3 this round. Okay, so this is going to be similar to the battlefield training that we talked about in the common video, except it's not permanent. It's +3/+3, but only for this turn. That's really good. That's probably going to be better than the battlefield training, because a lot of your units will just die the same turn. So this is something that can give you lethal. It can give you a good trade, and interestingly enough, it can actually be better than battlefield trading, because if, for example, you have a 2/1 and it goes up to being a 5/4. And then you trade into a 3/3. Now it goes to it's a 5/1 turn ends, it goes back to being a 2/1, and then at the start of the next turn, it goes +3/+3 again, goes back to being a 5/4. So it's like it healed. So that's kind of cool that you can basically like turn that extra health into like a healing reservoir. As far as who can use this, any deck that really likes, having multiple units on the board. So that's going to be like Elise, Garen, LeBlanc. This is basically like LeBlanc's power, because LeBlanc's power gives you a +3/+2 to any unit. Only this round, so yeah. This is like doubling up on LeBlanc's power. I would definitely take this on LeBlanc every game. Gearing up. At the start of the game, summon 2 Armed Gearheads. Armed Gearhead is a 1-mana 1/1 with Augment and First Strike. Or Quick Attack. Augment is when you play a card that was created, give the unit +1/+0 permanently. And Quick Attack is when the unit is on the offensive, it strikes before the enemy. So Armed Gearhead's really good on basically every Piltover and Song deck. Except Jace, for some reason. Jace is the only one that gets it for free. Jace does not create a lot of cards, but Jinx creates cards. She creates the Pow Pows when she levels up. If you have the Loose Cannon payload equipped to her, she has the Star Power that creates a rocket every time a champion levels up, and then she herself will create a rocket every time she levels up and every time that your hand is empty. So Jinx creates a lot of cards, and she also weakens units a lot. So anytime that you play a card with Jinx, then she's going to deal 1 damage to a random unit on the board. That means that they are really soft for quick attack units. So having like 2 4/1s with quick attack on Jinx's board is going to be insane. You are going to win the game so fast with gearing up. I would take gearing up like 3 times. I would take gearing up twice on Jinx and not care. I would just deal with having only 2 spots on my board, because I only need Jinx and that's it. Those 4 units, Jinx, game. So yeah, it's really good. Higher Education. When you draw a card, give allies +1/+0 this round. That's going to be Nyla. Nyla likes to draw a lot of cards, and Nyla also likes to have a lot of attack. So very, very good for Nyla. Other decks that draw a lot of cards or that go wide, not too many. Viego plays Shape of Fear, which kills one of his units and then draws a card and summons like 2. He kills a unit and then he summons 2 ephemeral units. And he draws a card, and his whole board gets buffed. And in particular, Viego likes his units dying with like 4 attacks. So although that doesn't count, it's only their original attack. It doesn't count if they get buffed beforehand. This is really good on Viego. It's going to be really good on Annie. Annie has Disintegrate, which draws a card with the Elixir of Skill. And she has a lot of units that, like, Annie is a deck that has a lot of units on the board all the time. It's really good. Hold It. At the start of the round, stun the strongest enemy. This is Darius's free power, and it's very, very strong. Being able to stun the strongest enemy gives you a lot of advantage. It allows you to stall the game, so your opponent can't attack you on their turn with their best unit. And it also gives you a lot of ways to push for lethal, because if your opponent only has 1 unit at the start of your turn, you can just go into attack phase and they can't block you. So it basically puts more pressure on your opponent to develop during their turn to make sure that you don't kill them. And that means if they attack into you and you soften up their board to protect yourself, then you benefit because you can just turn around and kill them. So yeah, really, really good. Obviously this is insane on Yasuo. I don't have to say that. Every stun that Yasuo gets is a good stun. Hold them off. Start around, Frostbite the strongest enemy this round. Yes, this is going to be good on Ashe. Don't at me. Ashe loves frostbiting. Ashe is just like, Ashe does not need this much frostbite. Ashe already gets free frostbite, but she gets more frostbite. There are 2 rare frostbite powers, and Ashe is just swimming in frostbite. Frostbite, of course, is reduce the unit's attack to 0. So frostbite is really, really good. It only lasts until the end of the round, but this basically is like stunning a unit, except that the unit can still attack and they can still gain attack afterwards. So it's not quite as good as Hold Up, but it still can be very similar. The problem is if you have both of them, if you have Hold It and Hold Them Off, it will do both. Like, it'll target the same unit, so it'll stun the unit and then freeze it as well. So you don't want to do that. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be really, really insane in Ash. It's really good at any deck that likes to play a slow game. Morgana really appreciates being able to like have a unit that she doesn't have to lock down. And Morgana is also going to be really good with Holder too, by the way, for the same reason. This is really good for Volibear, because Volibear needs a little bit of time to build up his board. It's really good for Viego, because Viego has Fearsome on everything. All of Viego's units are really good with Fearsome. So it basically means that they can't block because they have 0 attack. At least for the same reason, a lot of spiders have Fearsome. So and Elise herself has Fearsome. So essentially, this is just going to make it so that those units can't block. In my sights, at the start of the round, give the weakest enemy vulnerable this round. Okay, so this is really good for Alawi, because Alawi already has this ability, basically, and so does Volibear. Volibear and Alawi both get this. I think Volibear gets this particular one as his 4-star. Alawi gets, I think, you give the strongest enemy vulnerable? I don't remember exactly what Alawi does, but it's very similar. But, I mean, the more units that have vulnerable, the better. This is basically just like Duelist, but in reverse. Giving all of their units vulnerable is essentially the same thing as giving all your units Challenger. And the more ways that you can pick like your battles, the better. Alawi in particular really wants to make sure that her tentacle survives the attack so that she can attack whatever she wants. You should always have Challenger on Alawi, by the way. I will say that. You get full build by beating Aurelian Soul. If you want to play Alawi, beat Aurelian Soul, get Alawi a Forge thing to give her 1 epic slot, and put full build on her. It gives Challenger, it gives Overwhelm, which she already has, and it gives Tough. That's good. That's what she needs. She needs Challenger so that she can make sure that she lives and she can kill the strongest unit all the time and Overwhelm for like 50 damage. Like, trust me, Alawi is insane with full build. And making sure that her tentacles don't die is what In My Sights is for. Inheritance. When an ally dies, grant its power to a unit in hand. Oh my god, this is Darius' best power. This is so good. Every time that Darius summons a unit, it gets +4 attack and Overwhelm. So you have high attack units that give more high attack, that give Overwhelm to everything. So like you summon a 2/2, it's now a 6/3. When it dies, you get 6 power to another unit. You summon it. It originally was a 3/3, now it has 6 extra power, then gets +4/+0 because of your hero power. So now it's a 13/3 with Overwhelm. You crash into it, it dies, you take it back, now you summon a 4 attack unit, it gets +4/+0, it gets +13/+0, now it's a 21/3 with Overwhelm. Do you see this? You see where you're going with this? This is crazy. So this is like an insane power for Darius. Any deck that like gets a lot of power on their units, Viego, because all of Viego's shadow units are going to die, and they're going to be like 1/1 into 2/2 into 3/3 into 4/4 into 5/5 into 6/6 into 7/7. If you're getting like +8/+8 to like a random unit in your hand, +8 attack to a random unit in your hand, it's fine. It's good. It's good. Lie in wait. Allies everywhere that cost 3 or less are lurkers and have lurk. Obviously, this is really good at Pike, but Pike gets it for free. Other decks that benefit from this is going to be Elise and LeBlanc and Annie, basically. Like the 3 decks that use basically only 3 cost or less units. Any deck that has a champion that costs 3 or less is going to particularly like lie in wait, because you will always have your champion in your opening hand, but that's going to be LeBlanc, Elise, Annie. I think that's it. Memory game. At the start of the round, create in hand a fleeting copy of the last non-fleeting card you played. So this is going to be really good for just like replaying your cards constantly, following up, getting good stuff. It's good on Morgana, but Morgana's build tends to be like really focused on creating fleeting cards in your hand already, because she likes to play the Grand General's counter plan and potentially Arcane Comet or something else. So it depends on what area you're in, but you would take this on Swain, you would take this on Annie, you would take this on any deck that plays a lot of like damaging spells to make sure that you can finish your opponent off and continue the burn every single turn. Swain in particular, because every single spell that he gets the Pyromancer's Wake that deals 3 damage to the enemy nexus, is going to really benefit from getting multiple copies of the same spell. You could use this on units, but why would you? You'll run out of space. So yeah. Mystic Meditation. At the start of the round, reduce the cost of spells in hand by 1. Amazing on Morgana. Amazing on Swain. Amazing on Annie, you would basically take this on anyone except Jace. Do not play this on Jace. Whatever you do not play this on Jace, because Jace needs his spells to cost 6. It doesn't matter if they originally costed 6. He needs them to cost 6 when he plays them. Do not take this on Jace. You will lose the game. Officer backup. At the start of the game, summon a 2-cost Sting Officer. Sting Officer is a 2-mana, 1/2 elusive with Nexus Strike, plant 2 Flash Bomb traps in the top 8 cards of the enemy deck. This is really good for Teemo. Teemo really likes traps, and this card has elusive, so it can, not only will it shuffle the Flash Bomb traps into the deck, but it will shuffle the mushrooms into the deck from Teemo's base power. This is also really good for any deck that cares about striking the Nexus, which is Gangplank and Sejuani, but we don't have either one of them yet. I don't know why we don't have Sejuani yet. That seems like an easy champion to add to the game. This will help you easily trigger Plunder. So if you have any champions that use the Plunder powder to make them cost less, this is a very easy way to get that. So you can take this on, I think Pyke usually uses that. And of course, this unit will also have Lurk with Pyke, so that's really, really good for you, because it has elusive. And then also Jinx, I think, usually will use Pack Powder. So yeah, any deck that likes to use Plunder is really good. Phalanx, when you target an ally, give it barrier this round. That's insane on Lux Illuminated. Lux Illuminated will always target units and give them barrier, give them spirit, give them whatever. It's also really good on Garen, because when you play your free dueling spell that causes both units to strike each other, well, now your unit has barrier, so it will never die. You basically get a free attack on something. If we ever get Fiora, which we won't, this would be insane on Fiora, obviously, but Fiora is never coming. Phantom Pranks. When an ally dies, deal 1 to the enemy Nexus. That's going to be great for Kindred in particular, because Kindred's skill already has her units deal 2 to the enemy Nexus when they die. Evelyn and Thresh and Kindred all get the Phantom Prankster, which is like the 3-mana 0/3 that has when an ally dies, deal 1 to the enemy Nexus. So this synergizes very well with that. Basically, any Shadow Isles character will care about allies dying and dealing damage to the Nexus. Mordekaiser, less so, but still, you revive units, so you're going to kill units a lot. Quick Draw. Cards you draw cost 1 less this round. Nyla. Slow but Steady. When you play a slow spell, copy it on the same targets. That's going to be Lux. Lux herself. The regular Lux, not the Lux Illuminated. Because every time that you play the final Spark, that is a 0-mana spell. It deals 4 damage to a unit and has Overwhelm. It's the only spell in the game that has Overwhelm. So if you kill the unit with the first cost, well, then the next one is going to hit the enemy Nexus. That's really good. Sorcery. Start of the round, refill your spell mana. Everyone can use this. Everyone has spells. Everyone likes having 3 extra mana for their spells. In particular, this is really good for Samira. I don't remember what Samira's 4-star ability is. I don't think it's sorcery. Jinx gets this for free. Echo gets this for free. Jace wishes he gets this for free. Jace would love to have sorcery, so take this on Jace. Morgana gets, would be useful with this. Annie can use this. Swing can use this. Lux can use this, of course. Basically any deck that likes to play a lot of spells. Spellslinger, your spells cost 1 less. That is really good for Morgana, but she gets it for free. It's really good for Samira. Samira loves being able... And so a lot of Samira's spells are 1 mana, because she needs to combo them so much. So the Flare spell that she gets, the Stylish Shot spell that she gets, the... there's like the other spell, the Plunder spell, that gives a unit +2/+0, or if you plunder, it gives them +2/+1. That's also 1 mana. So Samira has a lot of 1 mana burst spells, and if all of them cost 0, then you are going to just cook so much with Samira. Viego has Shape of Fear, which costs 1, so being able to play that for 0 and draw a card is going to be really good for you. Yeah. Stabilize. When you play a champion, summon an exact ephemeral copy of it. That is really stupid. It's really, really good. This is basically Shadow Totem, except it applies to every one of your champions. So you don't just take it on, Normally, when you get an item, you just get it on the one champion or the one card. This applies to all of your champions. So if you have like 4 champions, in particular, this will be amazing on Aurelion Soul because Aurelion Soul gets like 8 champions in a single run, and they all level up immediately. So getting an ephemeral copy of them immediately, yeah, Stabilize is amazing on Aurelion Soul. Otherwise, Annie is really good to any deck that has like cheap champions or champions that have a huge impact. Alawi, Darius. Darius will like literally win the game if you get 2 copies of a level Darius. Yeah, so I mean, like literally any like the champions are the biggest part of your game. So when you summon them, getting an extra copy of them is almost always going to be a huge change for you. Supple Stone. Each round, the first time you play a landmark, refill mana equal to its cost. This is basically only good on Talia. I don't think I've actually seen this one. Again, like this, I think this might have been removed. Survey Core. Game start. Summon a 2 mana Greenglade Lookout. Greenglade Lookout is a 2/2. When it strikes, reduce the cost of the highest cost unit in your hand by 1. So that's only units, not spells. This is going to be really good for Morgana because she has an 8 mana unit for some reason. Also Darius, because Darius is a 6 cost unit. Really good on Ornn, because Ornn is 7 cost, and Ornn can equip this card, and getting it equipped is going to be very beneficial to you. And then Aatrox as well for the same reason, like reducing the cost of Aatrox to 5 is going to be very good for you to start like clicking a little bit earlier. Aatrox has regeneration, so the sooner it comes bound, the better. The best defense. Allies have attack, grow my health to match my power. That is much better than Grit. So this is insane. So like if you have like those armed gearheads, right? Those like 1/1s that get like 5 attack because of augment, and they attack, they can now become 6/6s instead of 6/1s. Units take a lot of damage, but they usually don't lose their power. This is essentially giving your units regeneration. If you have like a 5/5, it trades into a 4/4. Now it's a 5/1. Next turn you swing again, it goes back to being a 5/5. So this is essentially a very slow version of regeneration. As far as who can use this, any deck that doesn't play tokens, any deck that uses like solid, powerful units. Garen, all of his units like get extra stats. Ornn, all of his units get extra stats. Jax, all of his units get extra stats. Like, you are getting these big, buff, powerful units that don't necessarily have overwhelm, that will trade a lot. It is good to have the ability to just heal your units all the time. The Craftsman's Favor. Round start, create a 1 fleeting Time and Dedication in your hand. Time and Dedication is a 1 mana spell that forges an ally. Forge gives an ally +1/+1, or if they have equipment, it gives the equipment +1/+1 instead. So obviously this is going to be good on every deck that uses equipment, which is Vayne, Ornn, Jax, Kayn, and then and Aatrox. Vayne, Ornn, Jax, Kayn, Aatrox. But then it will also be really good on decks that care about targeting, which is going to be Lux Illuminated. So Lux Illuminated, anytime that you target a unit, it gets Spirit and Impact. This will do that. Samira cares about having like 1 cost spells in your hand. This is going to be a really good card for buffing Samira and getting you extra rallies. Vi likes having a lot of cheap cards so that she can easily get her attack up. A lot of decks could benefit from having a little bit of extra stats and then also a 1 mana spell that you can play on demand every single turn. This is way better than the Fleeting Blade because it actually has like a long-term impact. Titanic Wake. When you summon a unit with 8 attack, health, or cost, grant it +8/+8. Volibear and Viego, and that's it. Treacherous Strain. Each round, the first time an enemy summons a unit, frostbite it. Basically the same thing as the other one. This is really, really good for Ashe and decent for everybody else. Trifarian Might. When you summon a 5+ power ally, it strikes the weakest enemy. That is insane on Darius. That is insane on Viego. That is insane on Volibear. It's decent enough on LeBlanc. It is good sometimes on Garen. And then as far as everyone else, there's not too many targets, so it's mainly those. Vanguard Lookout. Start of the game, summon 2 Vanguard Lookouts. Vanguard Lookout is a 1/4 that has no other abilities. So this is going to be really good for Kaisa and for Poro King, because they like having units that will stick on the board to get the benefit of their extra keywords. But otherwise, it's like kind of a dull and uninteresting power. They don't scale too much unless you have like the ability to scale them. So this is not as good as the like the arm gearheads or something else. Welcome gifts. When you summon an ally granted a random keyword, this is good on literally everybody. Take this whenever you get it, because it is just that good. Getting random keywords, like you can get lifesteal, you can get challenger, you can get quick attack, and it's every time you summon a unit, not just the first time on each turn. So yeah, this is just insane power. Wild Inspiration, your created cards cost 1 less. That is also very, very good. Echo gets this for free, but you will use it if you get it on Echo. So just take it on Echo, even though you already have it. As far as other units, other decks that like this, Annie creates Guile every turn, so this makes Guile free. That's really good for her. Garen creates the trade card every turn. That's really good for him. That it only costs 1. Other decks that create a lot of cards, Morgana creates a lot of cards usually, so it's solid for her. Who else? I mean, like a lot of decks create cards, especially every single turn. I couldn't name like every deck that could do that, but you know those decks are going to be the primary ones. Okay, so that's the rare powers. My name is Strafi, and I was thrilled to have all of you with me.